Hello friends, how are you all doing? Welcome to this brand new video. My name is Shaquille, and today we're going to travel back in time to one of the golden chapters of history that shaped the destiny of the United States. This was the moment when sacrifices turned into reality, when dreams took shape, and when a new nation was born. Let's discover the fascinating story that laid the foundation of America. The background, the need for a capital after the American Revolution. After the American Revolution succeeded in 1776, the 13 newly independent states set out on an uncertain journey. They had broken free from British rule, but one critical question still remained. How would they create a united and strong federal government? In the early years of independence, the U.S. had no permanent capital. Congress moved from city to city, Philadelphia, New York, Baltimore, and others. This lack of stability weakened the effectiveness of government and increased distrust between the states. Each state wanted the capital close to them for political influence. But the issue wasn't only geography, it was also politics and deep regional differences. Northern states, built on commerce and industry, wanted the capital nearby. Southern states, dependent on agriculture and slavery, feared northern influence would threaten their way of life. This struggle put the young nation at risk. Without a united decision on a capital, the fragile union might have splintered apart. A permanent capital was needed, not just as a physical place, but as a symbol of unity, equality, and democracy. The financial crisis and the compromise of 1790. The revolution had left America buried in debt. Some states, especially in the North, owed heavy sums. Others, particularly in the South, had already paid off much of theirs. Treasury Secretary Alexander Hamilton proposed that the federal government assume all state debts to strengthen national unity. Southern leaders opposed this. Why should they pay for debts that weren't theirs? Northern leaders, however, pushed for it. The country faced a dangerous deadlock. That's when history records the famous dinner table bargain of 1790. At Thomas Jefferson's home, Hamilton and James Madison struck a deal. The compromise: the federal government would assume state debts, Hamilton's plan. In return, the new permanent capital would be built along the Potomac River, near the South. This compromise of 1790 solved both the financial and political crisis, securing America's unity. Without it, the United States might never have survived as one nation. Choosing the site, the Potomac River. With the compromise made, the next step was choosing the exact site. President George Washington played a decisive role. Being from Virginia, he wanted a location that balanced North and South. His choice: the banks of the Potomac River between Virginia and Maryland. This site was both geographically central and strategically important for trade and defense. In 1790, Congress passed the Residence Act, officially authorizing Washington to select up to 100 square miles for the new federal district. Maryland and Virginia contributed land, creating a neutral ground where no single state would hold power. This became the foundation of today's Washington, D.C., a city built as a symbol of national unity. George Washington's role, the founder of a capital. Washington was more than the first president. He was the architect of America's new capital. He personally inspected the site, oversaw the planning, and ensured the capital would represent democracy, equality, and independence. He wanted no single state to dominate, which is why the city was placed on federal land. Washington's leadership made sure the capital would stand as a symbol of the nation, not of any one region. Pierre L'Enfant's design, a city of dreams. Next came the question: what would the city look like? Washington chose Pierre Charles L'Enfant, a French-born engineer who had served in the Revolutionary War. L'Enfant envisioned not just a city, but a world-class capital. Inspired by Paris and Versailles, he designed broad avenues, open circles, and monumental spaces that conveyed freedom and grandeur. At the heart of his plan were two icons: the Capitol building and the President's House, later the White House, linked by wide streets and public squares. Although L'Enfant's strict approach caused conflicts and he was eventually dismissed, much of his vision remained. Even today, Washington, D.C.'s wide avenues, open spaces, and historic landmarks echo L'Enfant's dream. The first constructions, Capitol and White House. By the early 1790s, Washington, D.C. was little more than farmland and forests. Turning it into a capital required immense effort. The Capitol building came first. In 1793, a design competition was won by William Thornton, who proposed a domed, columned structure inspired by classical Rome and Greece, symbols of democracy. President Washington himself laid the cornerstone in a historic ceremony. For the President's House, Irish-born architect James Hoban won the contest. His elegant, simple design became the White House, whose cornerstone was laid in 1792. Over time, it became one of the most recognized buildings in the world. Construction was grueling. Workers included enslaved African Americans, European craftsmen, and local laborers, together building the foundations of America's democracy. These structures were not just buildings. They were the physical embodiment of the nation's ideals. Closing. And that, my friends, is the story of how the United States transformed its revolutionary struggle into a lasting symbol, the creation of Washington, D.C., a city born out of compromise, vision, and unity. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories from history. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.